We all have scars. Some are seen, and others are hidden in the depths of the heart. But what happens when those scars come from the place where we were supposed to have found love and security? Welcome to Invisible Scars, a space to talk about how family violence leaves traces in the way we love, trust, and relate, and above all, how we can heal and break the cycle. Today, we will talk about fear, conflict, invisible wounds, and the power to transform them into strength. And for that, a very special guest accompanies us. We welcome Daniela Ruiz, a psychologist specializing in trauma and emotional resilience. Daniela, what a joy to have you here.
Thanks for the invitation. I love this space because talking about what hurts is also a way to heal. Sometimes we believe that only those who experience physical violence suffers, but emotional wounds can be used as deep.
Yes, those that you don't see, but accompany you all your life if you don't look at them head on.
Exactly. When we grow up in environments where love and fear are mixed, we learn that loving implies suffering. And without realizing it, we take that idea to our adult relationship. We think that holding is loving, that keeping quiet is protecting.
And that is eroding self love, isn't it? Because one begins to believe that he deserves less.
Yes, valuing teaches us to dupe our value, to normalize the pain. But there is something very powerful about naming the wound. When you say, "This hurt me," you begin to recognize that this was not your fault. And that's where the healing begins.
It's beautiful that to name to liberate, because only when you recognize what happened to you can start choosing differently. And I think that brings us to a very important point, the fear of conflict. Because many times we don't argue, we don't express, precisely because of that past.
Yes, for someone who grew up in a violent environment, conflict is not a simple difference of opinion, it is a truth. Then we learn to keep quiet, to avoid, to give in, thinking that this way everything will be fine.
Nothing happens, really.
But I notice you upset.
I told you I'm fine.
That phrase, I'm fine. How many times do we say it when in reality we are destroyed inside?
Exactly. Avoiding conflict seems like peace, but many times it is a discussed fear. Healthy conflict does not destroy, it builds. Learning to express what we feel without fear or accusations help us to really connect.
And it also teaches us that not all disagreements end in violence, that love should not hurt or scare.
That's right, when we heal, we understand that setting limits or saying what we feel does not drive away the right people. It's bringing them closer.
And precisely to talk about that healing process, today we have the story of Laura, a woman who decided to break the cycle of emotional violence. Laura, thank you for joining us.
Thanks to you, it took me a long time to understand that what I lived at home was not normal. I always felt that I had to be the good one, the one who doesn't make noise, the one who doesn't bother. And without realizing it, I took to my relationships. I avoided conflicts and thought that if I loved more, things would get better. But I just got lost.
That's so common, Laura. They teach us that love is to endure, and that if something goes wrong, is our fault. But what you did, seek help, is a hush step.
Yes, there was a moment when I looked in the mirror and I felt that I no longer knew who I was. That when I decide that I want to live differently, I look for therapy, learned to see limits, and I understood that saying no is not being a bad person, it's taking care of myself.
How powerful. Sometimes we believe that healing is forgetting, but in reality, it is learning to live with what happened without letting it define us.
That's right, and Laura represents it very well. Healing does not erase the story, but it transfers the way we tell it, and that's freedom.
Breaking the cycle begins by recognizing yourself, by stopping repeating what hurt us. It is learning to set limits, to surround ourselves with safe people, to recognize our emotional rights.
And above all, understand that asking for help is not a weakness, it is an act of courage. Healing is not linear. There are relapses, but every step counts. Every time you choose to take care of yourself, you are breaking the cycle.
Every healthy decision is a way of saying, my story doesn't end in pain. The past doesn't define who you are, but understanding it can free your way of loving. If something from this episode resonated with you, give yourself permission to reflect on your story. Seek support if you need it. And don't be afraid to talk about what hurts, because talking is also healing. Thanks to Daniela Ruiz, our guest psychologist, and to Laura for Care Courage. And thank you for joining us in Invisible Scars. Remember, healing doesn't erase the past, but it does allow you to create a different future.